So the past couple of days, I've made basically what are rah-rah videos, kind of cheerleader type videos. The general tenor of today's video, however, is going to be a little bit different than that. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Kansas City Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, so consider hitting the subscribe button to stick around for more. Now, what I do want to say, however, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the discussion that I want to have today, this will not be a rah-rah type of video. However, neither will it be a "you will eat the bread, comrade, you will enjoy the bread, comrade." This will not be one of those type of videos either. This is probably somewhere in the middle. I'm not saying that we have to be happy with the product that's on the field right now, but I do think that it is a bit short-sighted to be necessarily upset with the football that we're watching the Kansas City Chiefs play right now, and I'm going to get into why. You will notice before you are the records for the Cincinnati Bengals since 2020. Now, that's the year that Joe Burrow was drafted. 2021, the year that Ja'Marr Chase was drafted. The 2023 Bengals lost all-world quarterback Joe Burrow to injury and ended up going 9-8 and missing the playoffs. Unfortunate, but ultimately understandable. They lost their quarterback. They missed the playoffs. Those things happen. So fast forward 1 year to the season in which we currently find ourselves, and Joe Burrow is healthy. In fact, he's currently pacing for 4,700 yards and 43 touchdowns. Not on par with Mahomes' best seasons, but those are really good numbers. The Bengals, however, already have as many losses, 8, as they had all of last season. Last season they were 9-8. So far this season they are 4-8, and they do not have the excuse of old Joey B being on the sidelines. If you were to consult NFL.com, the Cincinnati Bengals currently have a 3% chance of making the playoffs. A 3% chance of making the playoffs. So what's going on here? Well, I want to look forward for the Cincinnati Bengals. After all, the Chiefs' success that we're really talking about began in 2018 when Patrick Mahomes ascended to starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs advanced to the AFC Championship game, losing by 1 D Ford. The Bengals, however, their success kind of goes back to 2020 with the drafting of Joe Burrow, but really, it only goes back as far as 2021, Ja'Marr Chase's rookie season, where they went 10-7. In 2020, the Bengals were 4-11. That is what allowed them to pick Ja'Marr Chase 5th overall, and they didn't go to the playoffs, obviously. The 10-7 season 2021, they peaked and went to the Super Bowl, beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. The next year, they lost in 2022 in the AFC Championship game. Someone might remind me who it was they lost to, but they did win 12 games. The next season, however, was that 9-8 season that we talked about before, and this year they're seemingly not going to the playoffs. So twice, Joe Burrow has been to the playoffs. This is the team that everyone says are the Kansas City Chiefs beaters. This is the team that everyone says the Kansas City Chiefs have to be worried about in the playoffs. The problem is they've got to make it to the playoffs. 2 times, Joe Burrow's 5-year career, they've been to the playoffs. Now, looking forward for the Bengals, Ja'Marr Chase will make $21.8 million in 2025. The Bengals have a lot of cap space, but things aren't quite so simple. He'll be a free agent in 2026. He will not be on that rookie contract, and Justin Jefferson is making $35 million per year. If you were Ja'Marr Chase, and this was 2 years after Justin Jefferson signed his contract. The salary cap has gone up. You think you are better than Justin Jefferson. Would you be asking for the same money as Justin Jefferson, or would you be saying, hey guys, I'm easily worth 40, but let's pretend he just signs for, say, 36. In 2026, Joe Burrow's contract will be worth $48.25 million, and Chase will make north of 35, meaning that between those two players, Cincinnati will be out $84+ million on two players, neither of whom is Patrick Mahomes. So that does not strike me as a particularly great deal. That it strikes me as something that will end up causing the Cincinnati Bengals problems moving forward. Now, let's look at the draft. The Cincinnati Bengals have only been to the playoffs twice in the last 5 years, meaning that they should have some draft picks better than, say, 32nd, 31st, 30th. These are the places that the Kansas City Chiefs normally find themselves making draft picks in every round, by the way. But we'll just look at the first round. Joe Burrow was drafted first overall in 2020. We know how well that has gone. Jamar Chase was taken fifth overall in 2021. We know how well that went. That forced them to have the 31st pick in 2022 because they lost the Super Bowl. They took Daxton Hill, who in his rookie year gave up a rating of 100. He was a cornerback, gave up a rating of 135.4 when targeted, slightly troubling. His sophomore season in the NFL gave up a rating when targeted of 94.2, and so far this season has given up a rating when targeted of 99. Remember those numbers that we talked about for Joe Burrow, on pace for 4,700 yards and 43 touchdowns. Difficult to do all of that heavy lifting as a quarterback and still find yourself with a losing record. Still find yourself losing currently twice as many games as you have won. But that's the way the cookie crumbles when your defense is very, very bad. Myles Murphy was then taken 28th overall in 2023, following the Bengals' second of two playoff seasons. He finds himself with 511 career snaps through most of 2 years, and 0 sacks this year. He had 3 sacks as a rookie, has done nothing thus far this season. Now, Amarius Mims was taken 18th overall in 2024 following the disastrous season where they went 9-8, not having Joe Burrow for part of that year. Amarius Mims was my offensive tackle number 1 in this class. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on the draft, I do have a draft channel I will be kicking up shortly. It is at Draft Chair here on YouTube. If I can remember, I will put a link to that channel in the description, but Draft Chair is how you find it. I haven't made any videos over there for a while, but I'm hoping this season is the year where I really pick things up over there. Going to be difficult. I do make daily Chiefs content. Now, the last note that I have here on the Bengals. They were the third oldest team in the NFL coming into the season. Now, obviously, rosters change a little bit during the course of the season. Who's getting injured? Who are you trading for? Who are you picking up off waivers, etc. But coming into the year, this was the third oldest team in the NFL. Is that what you would have thought? The Bengals, the third oldest team in the NFL, they seemed just a couple of years ago as if they were a great youth movement play. It seems that time has passed them by. So let's look at somebody else. Someone else that is a Kansas City Chiefs foe, if you will. Someone they've played twice in the Super Bowls they have been to since Patrick Mahomes took the reins in Kansas City. And for this team, I'm going to go back to 2019 because that was the year that they lost the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs. In 2019, the San Francisco 49ers went 13-3. They were a very impressive football team and I believe were favored in the Super Bowl. The next season, they fell all the way down to 6-10. They missed the playoffs. Did not go to the playoffs. Kansas City Chiefs have already locked in a playoff spot. They are still jockeying for the number 1 seed, but they have locked in a playoff spot. Of course, the next season, they lost the conference championship game, famously back-to-back, but in 2021, they went 10-7. In 2022, they went 13-4 before losing in the conference championship game. And then in 2023, they went 12-5 and found themselves the recipient of another Super Bowl L to Patrick Mahomes. And this season, they are 5-7, likely not heading to the playoffs. Now, it's weird. It's a weird season in the AFC. The playoffs in the AFC are all but set. There's just like one spot. Will it be the Broncos? Will it be the Colts right now? That is kind of being fought over down the stretch. This is the opposite of what the NFL had intended, putting a lot of the division games later in the season. But you heard it here first, guys. I am here to predict that they are going to move the trade deadline earlier in the season rather than later, because what it does is it allows teams to have a great divide in the season. You are a team who is closer to the playoffs than not, but you still find yourself on the outside looking in that late in the season, you might as well be sellers. All of the teams that you see in the hunt for the Super Bowl were buyers this year. This allows the teams to cause a great chasm in the middle of the NFL where there are no mediocre teams. It's basically great teams and bad teams, which kills things late in the season. So I think those things are going to be changed going forward. Now, why talk about the 49ers? They are another foe, another supposed nemesis of the Kansas City Chiefs, who have, in the last 6 seasons, missed the playoffs twice, probably twice. The 49ers will have to figure out what it is that they are doing with Brock Purdy's contract. Now, the whole argument I'm making in this video is the incredible success and standardized expectations here in Kansas City have led us to see an 11-1 season and be kind of about it. Have led us to this point in the season where we are watching the Kansas City Chiefs win 11 games in 12 tries, and we think, this sure isn't very pretty. Yeah, it's a lot of wins, but man, I don't like the way they're winning. If you were the 49ers and you were one of the most successful teams in the NFL over the past 6 seasons, wouldn't you have made the playoff? Wouldn't you have rather made the playoffs all of those years? That 6-10 season in 2020, that's 10 opportunities to not like the way your team is losing, rather than 10 opportunities to not like the way your team is winning. The Kansas City Chiefs have won 11 games in 12 tries. But after this season, the 49ers have to figure out what it is that they're going to be doing with Brock Purdy's contract. If he is their guy, after this year, they have to know he's limited. The 49ers have all of the toys in the world for that offense, and it's just not getting much done. You know, another limited quarterback in the NFL, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott just signed a contract with an average annual salary of $60 million. If you're the 49ers, do you make Brock Purdy a $60 million man? I think he will have the numbers to back it up, the success to back up having at least as much money as Dak Prescott come his way. This season, notwithstanding. Now, if you are the 49ers and you do pay $60 million a year to a guy like Brock Purdy, that's an awful lot of ammo in one place that is not going to be able, you're not going to be able to sustain all of the toys that he has in the cradle right now. Another note on the San Francisco 49ers, they were the 7th oldest team in the NFL coming into this season. The 7th oldest team in the league. That is top 33%, top 3rd oldest team in the league, the 49ers. Now, let's look at another team, the Buffalo Bills. Patrick Mahomes can't beat Josh Allen in the regular season. Who cares? Who wants to when he can just go ahead and beat him in the postseason? Now, this is the Buffalo Bills' success going back to Patrick Mahomes' first season as a starter. Maybe a little unfair, but it's just where we're going with today. 6-10 in 2018. 10-6 in 2019. They lost in the wild card playoff game. 2020, they were 13-3 and lost in the conference championship game. Maybe you can tell me how that game went. 2021, they were 11-6. They lost in the divisional round. 2022, 13-3, lost in the divisional round. 2023, 11-6, lost in the divisional round. Now, maybe this is the closest to the success that the Kansas City Chiefs have had in the playoffs all of these years. They'll be in the playoffs this year. They locked up their playoff spot yesterday. That is a lot of divisional round exits. Regardless, the Buffalo Bills were the oldest team in the NFL coming into this season. The Buffalo Bills are projected to have just $8.1 million of cap space in the 2025 season at this point. The Buffalo Bills have had a lot of success, but not the big success. Not winning a conference championship game, not going to a Super Bowl, not getting a ring, and now they find themselves old and poor. You could say a lot about the same about me, but they find themselves the oldest team in the NFL heading into a season where they will have just $8.1 million of cap space. It is right now or maybe never for this iteration of the Buffalo Bills. They have to do this. They've already started losing pieces, Stephon Diggs, etc. Now they're in the position where they're going to be favored, and they're going to have to get it done because they have not gotten it done before. So let's take a look at what it is that the Kansas City Chiefs have done since Patrick Mahomes came into the league. And this might seem a little redundant, but I promise I have a point here. Patrick Mahomes' first season as a starter, they went 12-4 and lost in the conference championship game to a quarterback you may have heard of, known as Tom Brady. 2019, 12-4, they won the Super Bowl. 2020, 14-2, preordained heading into the playoffs, but they lost the Super Bowl, allegedly. I don't know anyone who remembers the NFL having a postseason in 2020. I think that this is imaginary. I don't think it ever happened. No one remembers the Super Bowl that was the Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think it actually happened. There's no footage of this exists. 2021, the Chiefs went 12-5. Felt like a down season, ended up being a down season because they lost in the conference championship game. That has been the absolute bottom for the Kansas City Chiefs as far as what it means to have Patrick Mahomes starting at quarterback. In 2022, they went 14-3 and won the Super Bowl. Last season, 2023, they went 11-6 and won the Super Bowl. This season, they find themselves 11-1. Through 12 games. Through 12 games, they have won as many as they did all of last season. And to be quite honest, guys, looking back at this, some of these seasons start to blend together because there's so much winning involved. You can't say that when I say 2021, you're sure you're thinking about games from 2021 because they were winning 12 of them that season. They won 14 of them the season before and 14 of them the season after. That's a lot of winning to try to remember. The losses stick out a lot more than do the wins. The Kansas City Chiefs were the 8th youngest team in the NFL coming into this season. They were the 8th youngest team in the NFL coming into the season, and they find themselves with the best record in the NFL. They were the 8th youngest team coming into the season, and they find themselves heading to the playoffs. They find themselves, if they win next week, they will have won the division. They find themselves weeks away from procuring home field advantage through the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs have won as many games as they did last year when they ended up ending the season with the Lombardi Trophy. Why do I say all of this? What have I gone on this rant for? It's difficult. The Kansas City Chiefs are drafting 30th, 31st, 32nd overall. So low in the first round, Brett Veach for many years hasn't made a first-round selection. He traded one for Orlando Brown. He traded one for Frank Clark. He traded them away. They were drafting so low, you don't know what player you're going to get. You might as well roll the dice on a guy who has proven himself to have a modicum of success in the NFL. But since then, he's been collecting draft picks up to this season, where he's had to trade a few away in order to make the big bid to get a third consecutive Super Bowl. Are we watching the prettiest football we have seen in the Patrick Mahomes era? No, absolutely not. Is this team vulnerable in the playoffs? Possibly uniquely so. Possibly uniquely so in the Patrick Mahomes era. Possibly more vulnerable than any Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs team has been thus far. I can't guarantee you they're going to the AFC Championship game. They've always been to the AFC Championship game. I can't guarantee you they're winning a Super Bowl. Half the time Mahomes starts, they're collecting a ring. But here's what I can say. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes last season, I think, had a worse receiving core than he does this year. Things aren't quite clicking yet. Things weren't really clicking last year until the playoffs. The defense is down this season versus last year. Yeah, but to the tune of 2.3 points per game. That's a field goal. If you have to trust one individual in the entirety of the NFL to get you in field goal position, well, ask Josh Allen who it is. The Kansas City Chiefs are putting up what looks like a subpar product because it's frustrating. What looks like a subpar product because the margin of victory isn't quite there. The Kansas City Chiefs are putting up what looks like a subpar product because they're getting our cholesterol, they're getting our heart rate going on Sundays. But guys, they've won as many games this year as they did all of last season. If they lost out this year, we would be looking at the same record as the 2023 Kansas City Chiefs. Do you think they're going to lose out? I don't. In fact, they're in position with one loss through 12 contests to have the best record and the most wins of the Patrick Mahomes era. They need 3 to tie 4 to have a better record. If they want to have that one spot, they're going to have to go with maybe one more loss, 2 more losses. If they lose 3 games, I think they're really in contention with the Bills for that number 1 spot. I think the Bills will lose at least 1 more, but who knows? It feels like a down season. When you look at the numbers, it doesn't quite look that way. It feels like the Kansas City Chiefs are uniquely vulnerable, and maybe they are. Maybe they are. But guys, all Patrick Mahomes needs is 13 seconds. In the playoffs, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to give their offensive tackle more help. In the playoffs, the Kansas City Chiefs will not be afraid to double team wide receivers, tight ends, etc. But during the regular season, they're going to try to work out these kinks while they have the time and the real estate in their schedule to get it done. That, in my belief, is what we're watching. Now, it might be they never get there. It might be that Najee Johnson, Joshua Williams, et al. Never fix things. Might be. But at least they're taking the chance to try to do those fixins in the regular season. Because, guys, right now on your screen, that rightmost column, playoffs, that's what really matters. And the Chiefs are checking all of those boxes. That's all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.